So, hi everyone, me again in your HR Power Pod, the podcast that it's all related to HR. With me today, Erin Mcmahon. That's the proper way to say it.
It is,
And
yes,
I
thank you.
great. So, Erin is someone I know from years. She's a very experienced director in talent acquisition. She has 20 years of experience in the ground in the field of talent and as well in HR. Currently, she's working with Performance Search. She's the director of client success, but she also has a company of she's founder of the couple of companies, right? One that related development, and the other is related talent acquisition as well, or talent.
Yeah.
And she has grow with a lot of companies, big names as well. And she will talk to us a little bit about what's going on in talent acquisition right now, the space of talent, and talk a little bit about her experience. I'm pretty sure we have a lot to learn from her. So, Erin, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Great. It's been a while since you and I haven't talked, and we eventually keep in touch every now and then. So I wanted to ask you, can you talk a little bit about your experience, how your career has developed? 27 years of experience is, he has to say something. I mean, you have something to say probably. And can you talk a little bit about what you're doing right now?
Yeah, so right now I'm working in the total talent space. So working with companies from when they hire an employee until the end of the talent life cycle and everything in between. So you've got talent acquisition, recruiting, staffing, different things for different levels and different organizations globally. And then also on the end of it, by doing outplacement and career transition, which is an important part of the talent life cycle, and then anything in between. So it can be learning development, it can be executive coaching, talent management, training and development. So, fortunately, I can be involved, at any stage within the talent life cycle, sometimes good, sometimes not so good, and sometimes or always very exciting. And I think like many people, I got into HR and talent because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, which, that sometimes you just end up in HR when you don't quite know what you want to do, but you want to work with people.
Yes.
And it's been super exciting, and there are a lot of changes, but at the end of the day, we're still talking about people. And so I know there's so many developments around AI and around technology, but at the end of the day, we're still people and we are dealing with human resources, and you have to know what you're doing versus just depending on a computer to do it.
Exactly. Yes. So we were offline talking a little bit about how the the cycle of talent goes, and you just mentioned something that is very important. I actually wrote something for LinkedIn, for my a space in LinkedIn related, actually, how the trends of the 2024 are coming, and how things that the HR needs to look, things that you think that you have control of it right now, but it's always something that we discuss every year. And you just mentioned one that is very important: the end of the cycle of the talent that we have in the company, that people have in the company. Companies need to review their process, and you mentioned one action that I think is important, which is outplacement, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And there's a lot of reasons to offer outplacement. Sometimes companies do it just because they want to avoid any legal problems. A lot of companies want to be known as the employer that cares, even when they have to let employees go. A lot of times you need to rehire that talent, and so how you treat them when they're leaving is really important. And as we are facing a talent shortage in a lot of areas of the business these days, you're going to need to rehire that talent. And so that's a great thing to do because you can keep track of them. You've already built some rapport. Sometimes your best talent is your former talent. They understand the business, they understand the cycles of the organization. And so you need to keep on good terms with people, and outplacement is a great way to do that.
in related good terms, it talks about the brand of the company that you represent, because you will become um, promoter of that brand moving forward.
Exactly.
So brand is also important, right? You have to build the brand and the company that takes care of current circumstances of talent or future circumstances of talent and people who you are trying to attract as well, right?
Exactly. And, with technology these days and LinkedIn and Glassdoor and, all of these different websites, if you treat someone badly, it's going to come out. And, people listen to stories. Storytelling is still one of our greatest assets that we have. And if you don't treat your employees well, believe me, a story is going to be put out there. And it's very hard to recover when your reputation has been demolished by an unhappy former employee, and storytelling is pretty important, so you need to be careful of those stories that are getting out there.
Yeah, plus you already kind of build a career for those people. You're part of the development of them, and say so at the same time you already invested a little bit on them, and for sure they know the job that you hired them
Exactly,
in the
exactly.
beginning. So it's a good asset to invest on the whole experience, even all the way. If the people needs to go, you have to invest on have the proper information in place. If you're not allowed to have the outplacement, you have to work on all the steps of the details of the people, right? I mean, like you said,
Exactly.
they will have a story to tell when they go to the next company or the next or their professional circles, right?
Yeah, and there, I know that you have experienced this being in Mexico, and I'm in Houston, where the oil and gas industry is fantastic, and we have hundreds of thousands of people, but they leave one company, they go to another, then 3 years later there's an acquisition, and so it's very cyclical, and if you're not protecting your brand and your people, even in bad times, it can really come back to hurt you.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about recruiting, the star of the cycle. You and I probably experiment this a few years ago, that there was a war to get talent. There was a shortage of finding people, proper people. People didn't want to leave their companies, and you needed to be very creative, right? But to start there, that's how you build the brand, right? You build a little bit of the reputation that you already have, and work with the company to have their own speakers and announcements, public announcements that made possible to do some, again, good branding for the company. So back then to now, um, how you see the tools being used to get people, how how you see the uh, how we're going to experiment those changes from recruiting, because again, 2 years ago it was different, but 10 years ago it was very different. Now you can
Very
look for
different.
your, yeah. So how you see the differences between years on looking for talent right now, and I think keeping in consideration as well that some of those jobs are being probably overtaken by technology.
Yeah, and I think we're still at the time of change. So if we think that everything is being taken by technology right now, I don't think that that's actually 100% true. I think we're starting to dabble in that. And I know that, we're just at that time of year. So we've got all of these, what are we seeing for 2024? What are the trends? I know the BBC came out with something and it was so AI focused. And that's all good and well. And I think that we need to be very aware of AI, but again, we need to be also still remembering that this is about, we need humans looking at these things, and that's one of those things that as someone who's looking for a job, if you think that just applying online through a website is how you're going to find a job, you're wrong. The websites are very interesting because they tell you what kind of jobs are out there, but if you can use any way to network to get into an organization. Networking is still the best way to get into an organization. And I think, I've been reading articles about people applying for, 100 jobs a day, or, they're sending in, 1,000 applications. Well, that's not how you're going to find a job. You really need to find another way in. You need to stand out amongst all of the other thousands of people that are applying. As a mom, I can say, my son just applied for a job, and for one job, there were 16,500 applicants for one job. And fortunately, he has a mom in HR who was able to give him some guidance, and he was able to actually get that one job. So, very proud moment. But just to tell people that there are thousands of applicants for every one job, and so I think using the technology that's out there as a tool, so you can see what are the requirements, but as you're creating your either your job application or your resume, be aware of those keywords, and so that you can as closely align to the job with your experience as possible, and not just depend on hitting click 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 and you submitting. Do something to be unique and stand out from the rest of the people depending on technology. And so I think it's we need to technology is here to stay, and we need to use it to our advantage, but it's a tool. It's not the end game at this moment in time. I think when you and I talk in 2 years or 5 years from now might be completely different, but right now you need to use a combination of real human skills as well as the technology.
And you just touch a good statement. The networking is very important as well.
It's huge. And everyone needs to be developing their networks, and that's what's going to set us all apart. And having uncomfortable conversations, putting yourself out there, talking to people that you're looking for something new. I'm really interested in your company. Having real conversations, and sometimes they're difficult conversations. So how do you have those? And that's what sets us apart. Then. Machines,
Yeah.
we learn, and we can have those conversations.
Yeah, and you will find people who might feel the same way, or you will be related with your experience, right? I mean, you will
Exactly.
find those people who probably will uh, tell you that they hired somebody, and they 6 months later he find out that this person wasn't exactly the best fit for the job. But still, you can probably talk to people about those experiences that you had, and that will be very helpful for it.
Exactly. And how exciting to share common experiences or common goals, or even if it's we did Boy Scouts together, or we like the same sports teams, just something to make conversations comfortable, and find something in common with someone.
Yeah, that's a good advice. That's a great advice. I mean, it helps a lot to have a conversation. Even when you're sitting just in the airport and you see somebody who's probably, I was going to say looking at the newspaper, but probably they're looking at their phones. Uh, and you might find that they are looking at some piece of information that you kind of know about it. And so that helps to open a conversation, which is very difficult nowadays, right?
It is, and I'm somebody I can talk to anybody and find something in common with everyone. And it's just listening to people, and asking enough questions to get them going. And we all like to talk about ourselves. And
Exactly.
so sometimes we need to listen, because when you listen, you'll find something that you absolutely have in common with everybody. And you have to put yourself out there. And it's not comfortable always. And there are a lot of people that don't enjoy talking to other people. But find a way, step out of your comfort zone a little bit, and just ask questions and listen to people. It's extraordinary what you'll find out.
Also, you will build some confidence. You will build a partnership with somebody, or alliances that you might need in the future. Again, just made an example of that. One job for 16,000 people. You don't know who you might know, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that person who you know might probably know that you're capable to do, right? And you're one phone call away for probably doing some business, closing some business, getting a job, and that's not going to be done by an AI that is in your phone, right?
Right, and not right now. Again, our conversation may change in 5 years, but for right now, communication skills, it's so important. It's so
Yeah,
important.
yeah. So what challenge do you see right now on the recruiting space? What do you see that is happening in the market? Uh, what do you think that we need to change or focus currently right now? The market's being very tight on the jobs, like you just said. There's a lot of people right now they're looking for a opportunity. So us as recruiting, us as people who also consult people as well, what will be how do you see the market now, and what can you advise us to do?
So, whenever anybody asks me about the market right now, my first word is it is strange. I mean, it's I've been doing this for 27 years and working in kind of the HR and professional space for that long. This is the strangest time I've ever seen. There are jobs, there are requisitions out there, there are companies looking for people. They're not necessarily hiring so fast, and they're taking their time. Is it a position that they have to fill, or it would be nice to fill? And there's a lot going on behind the scenes. I think we are in a transitional time, and we've gone from that candidate-driven market to now it's a company-driven market. I think will balance out in the not too distant future. And so, I think my biggest advice to people looking for jobs or for organizations looking for people is just keep going, and be always developing your skills, having conversations, looking at different things in the market and realizing that, maybe you're a technology person. Hiring in technology is really tough right now. But if you're a technology person, go to a manufacturing company. They have technology jobs. And so, how do you translate what you've done into what you can do so that it's not necessarily so specific that you are positioning yourself out of a job? But what can you do in a broader sense, and look outside of the industry that you've been in, and realizing that there are still a lot of companies hiring, and be patient, and it's, if you're in a rush to find something, you're going to potentially lose out of opportunities. It's tough. It's not an easy market right now. And I think, globally, we're in a whole bunch of state of change right now, and there's a lot going on. So be patient, look beyond what you're comfortable with, and be open to trying new things and adding to your experience so that you're ready for something new.
Exactly. Just hit something on the spot that I think is the spot. We probably are a technology guy. You're probably an HR guy, and you're probably used to do a field or a segment that you control, that you are expert, right? Get out of that comfortable zone and probably look for something that you might never explode and explode it, or find out. I mean, you just I thought, well, if you are in manufacturing and you're in IT, well, there's IT in sports, there's IT in the food
Healthcare,
industry, in the
there's IT
health,
everywhere. Yeah.
everywhere. So you might want to go there, and you will find some probably a surprise for you that might feel your need, even make you more efficient on what you do, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. There are industries that kind of complement each other, and one goes up, the other goes down, and they I can think of oil and gas and automotive. They tend to, one goes up, the other goes down, and
Yes.
so that I don't, there's not a lot of oil and gas people that are comfortable going to automotive, but there's the same kind of skills. If you're an engineer, a lot of those skills can go across industries. So take a chance. Worst thing that can happen is you hear no, but
Yeah,
give it
yeah.
a shot.
You already have that one. So
Yeah, exactly.
yes. So you actually also made me think about something that an experience that I had in company. I remember we were looking for recruiters, and I remember that I had this interview with this person who was in the insurance space. She used to sell insurance, but she had this outgoing way to talk to me, and she was very comfortable and sure. She didn't know nothing about the market that we were in back then, and at the end she was very good at recruiting. She was actually the best recruiter I had, and she completely learned a new career. I know a lot of people who are listening are people who are very qualified for the job that we do, but at the same time you have to be out of your comfort zone and learn. Right now, like you just said, this time this market is asking you to do it right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And, as people in HR, look outside of the job description. I know that's very, very, people in HR are thinking, oh my gosh, we can't possibly do that. But if you find a candidate that has certain skills that are not on the job description, present that candidate. Get out there and talk to the hiring managers. Talk to your company why you think somebody that maybe came from insurance and you're bringing them into manufacturing. That's not a natural transition. But if this person can, sell the company, excite the candidates, represent, the job description, but also look, that's a great candidate. So HR people in particular, take a chance on some of those candidates and present them to your hiring managers, but know how to make the business case.
Yeah, they will close the deal. You don't know what
Yeah,
deal, but they will close the deal, and a good one that will
exactly.
probably be very good.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
so how do you see HR right now coming in? I was talking to a friend this morning, and we were kind of agreeing that the world right now it's going to be electing a lot of political leaders. There's going to be a lot of changes going on this year, and that's a kind of a lot of things that is also something that is affecting companies on making decisions right now. They're being very cautious about it. But how you see the HR space coming in this year or the next one? I know that we're starting 24, but how you see HR coming in the future and some of those challenges or something that we need to focus?
Yeah, so I think it's going to be HR's responsibility to listen to their people. I think, there are a lot of people very unhappy about the state of the world right now. And really, every country is having their own challenge right now, given kind of the political climate, the economic climate. And so it's HR's time to really shine because they're going to be the ones that are going to listen and have the pulse of what's going on with the people in an organization. And how do you take maybe the turbulence in the world and use that to your advantage to give people within your organization, whether you're recruiting or retaining or whatever is going on with your own people, how do you use that as a form of stability in an unstable world? And so, HR can present people with, again, training and development, leadership development opportunities. What kind of options are you giving employees? Are you able to move people around? If you find somebody that's not performing well in one part of the business, can you put them in another part where maybe they could have some success? Or can you give them some programs or training or something to give them something stable and optimistic so that they're staying with your company and I think it's HR's time to really shine. Are you conveying the message of the leadership team to the troops? How are you getting kind of the message of the company out to the population of your company? So it's really an important time for HR to step up to the plate and be the voice that maybe people and the company don't feel they have, but can find common ground and invigorate people, excite them, help them build trust. And so it's a really important time for HR.
Yeah. So we are kind of the representatives of the culture of the company, and just put it in one word would be they have to look at the culture and be those people who communicate that what's going on, the goals. Like you said, the communication has to go all the way with every layer of the people who are participating in the company, and that's our job as HR representatives, right?
Absolutely. And, find a common language and, building that trust across the organization and find things that can give people a common goal so they all feel like they're moving forward to the same goal. And what is it that's going to help organizations get there culturally? And this is a struggle for a lot of companies, and they can't even articulate what their culture is, let alone build something around it. So, start from the beginning around culture, and this is where HR can really come in and do some extraordinary work around culture change.
Yes, exactly. So this is a question of learning for everyone here as well, and I do it for everyone who I have talked to in the last 6 months. So what are you reading right now? What can you
Oh
recommend us
gosh.
right now that you're is it reading or you're hearing a podcast now? Nowadays there's a lot of material going out there that are related to our field or personal growth,
Yeah,
something that
and
you can recommend.
and historically in my life, I've been a huge reader. I am now commuting an hour and a half each direction. So I find that my reading time has diminished a little bit, but I am listening to a lot. And I am listening to podcasts, and I'm reading things that are maybe not as long as they were. So, where I'll read an article that I can, pick up while I'm at lunch, or I'm reading something if I'm, at the garage waiting for my oil to be changed, or, I'm reading a lot of the authors or influencer. I'm going to call them influencers, or although that probably they would hate that word, but the people that have been around for a long time in HR. So I love Jeff Pfeffer with Stanford. I love Dave Ulrich with RBL Group. Linda Grattan with the London Business School. The people that I grew up with kind of early on in my career are still doing really powerful things. And so I tend to gravitate towards their articles or their findings or their research. But I think there are a lot of organizations out there. So you've got Gallup, which is doing some amazing things every year, and the trends that they're seeing. So I love to at this time of year in January in particular, love hearing what are their trends. And even Corn Ferry does great things, and there are really fantastic organizations out there printing their research or their findings. And it's always interesting to hear what competitors or other companies that I respect, what they're doing and what they're seeing. And I don't know, there's some of it that's really scary. So how much are we AI? Again, that seems to be like on everybody's list right now. But how much are we depending on that versus our own kind of emotional intelligence, our own decision making, or our own ability to communicate as humans versus just depending on technology. So what are companies, and I've been reading a lot around leadership skills, and are they really changing that much than what they were 15 years ago? I don't know. Leadership skills seem to be kind of timeless. And so I think there's a lot of great information out there. And I tend to read the people that have been around for a long time versus the flavor of the month.
That's good. That's great. Sounds like a good recommendation. Plus, though, like you said, there's this core of people who have built a lot of what we do or what we've done in HR, and probably that core will last for a long while. I'm thinking
Yeah,
that,
exactly.
yeah, probably tools, probably ways to improve. That's kind of standard that there will be every year, but the core of the function is still there. It's been there since HR kind of went into
Yeah,
the map of
exactly.
the companies, right?
Yeah, and I'm finding that a lot of the conversations that I'm having with leaders right now, they're the same conversations that we had 25 years ago. It's not, they still are talking about the same issues. And, I have to say, maybe we've had, two steps forward, one step back in some things. And, there was 25 years ago is HR, how do we get a seat at the table? Well, you're at the table now. And are you being heard? I think that's really important. Are you using, the tools that you have in HR and the knowledge that you have around people to be a business advantage? So, they're the same conversations. They just
Yeah,
maybe are a little more colorful.
exactly. You like you just mentioned that if you're already sitting at the table, you got to learn a little bit about the business, about what you're doing, and about what finance are doing, what the operations are doing, because at the end you'll be a partner of helping them because people are involved in all that, and you're a
Exactly.
people's person.
But it is about the business. And so, I think, we sometimes get caught up in the fluffy stuff. At the end of the day, it's still about business. So if you're in HR or recruiting or outplacement, what does that mean for the business to be successful? And they're the reason why we're here. Again, it's nice to talk about the fluff and about the fun stuff, but, at the end of the day, how can we bring value to the business?
That's that's great. That's what we need to do. I mean, we need to do it every year. It's part of what we need to uh, go to the future and influence whatever is good for the community that you are working with, because at the end it's a community, it's people that you manage. So, and you have an
Absolutely.
influence, you also have a little bit of influence on people. So you have to be very prepared for that.
Absolutely. And I do think it's important. And, we asked, what am I reading and what am I listening to? I find that, I'm still being very involved in listening to the Financial Times or, reading the Wall Street Journal, because you need to know about what's happening from, business and finance and the world and, the economy and politics. And, you know, you don't need to be a subject matter expert in all of it,
Yeah.
but you need to know enough of it to be able to make business decisions.
Yeah, and things just change one day to another. I mean, you have to be kind of
Oh,
aware of what happening. I mean, I was talking to my partner, probably was a month ago, when the president of the chat tool that everyone is using right now for our AI,
yeah,
he resigned for to this company, and Microsoft on the weekend they already had an offer for him, and
yeah,
Monday he already was counter offer and he was back at the job, and everything happened in a weekend. So you need to be to be reading and on the look of what's going
absolutely.
on, because
I
everything
remember
happens
when
for.
it, yeah, I remember when it happened, and it was, Friday at 4 o'clock, he was gone. And by Saturday morning, he was already, it's just so fascinating. So, but if you're not
Yeah,
reading, you don't know about those things.
yeah. So I'm gonna accuse myself that I didn't know that it happened. And I find out probably Thursday when I was talking to my business partner, and she said, "Did you saw what happened on the weekend? It was kind of like a. I mean, it happened so fast, and it was. We need to do an analysis about it." And I was like, "What happened on the weekend?" I was like, "What? What just happened?" And like you said, you need to be every day reading about it, or if you had a chance. I mean, we have the information in the palm of our hands right now, right? You don't have
Exactly.
to wait for the newspaper the next day, like we used to. But you have to be updated on what's going on in your business as well, what's going on in the business in general. If you were going to go and learn more about different segments that you're not exactly your expertise, right?
Exactly. And then again, it goes back to being able to have conversations. So need to have knowledge so that you can have good conversations.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
my opinion might be different than yours, but at least we can have a discussion.
Exactly. Yeah. And it is. I mean, talking to people, it's so different now. But again, it has grown from the value of having those meaningful conversations, because I don't know how it's going to be in the next generations. I mean, it's like I said, right nowadays it's very difficult to start a conversation, and if you have those skills, if you are able to do it, uh, you'll keep uh, growing that muscle in your brain and of the stuff that you like to do, right? I mean, but
Yeah, but it's how lucky are we that we get to be living in this time and
exactly this
you
transitional
know
time.
it's we don't know what tomorrow will bring, but it sure is interesting along the way. And how lucky are we that we get to see all of this happening in real time.
Exactly. Well, Erin, it was wonderful to talk to you and see you again. Um, there's a lot of people who will be seeing this. So you want to talk to them and let them know where they can find you?
Yeah, so LinkedIn, and I think LinkedIn is the best tool that we have right now to communicate in a professional setting. And I always welcome people reaching out to me, and I do feel it's also my responsibility to help anybody that is asking for help, and we're here to support each other. So it's really a pleasure to be here. And again, reach out on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to connect and have conversations. And I can talk about a lot of topics, and even if you want to talk about the weather, I'm happy to do so. But
Great,
it's really a pleasure. Thank you for
great.
having me.
Thank you. So thank you everyone who is connected to us. This was your podcast, HR Power Pod, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Erin.
Bye.